2024 Public Safety and Transportation Committee meeting to order. Be looking for a motion to approve today's agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Duckham, supported by Williams. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes unanimously. Takes us to item 3. This is the first opportunity for public comment. Public comment guidelines are each individual will state their name and have 3 minutes to address the board. You may only address the board once under this public comment opportunity and may not yield your time to others. Board members will not debate or answer questions at this time. Is there any public comment?
Yes.
Come step to the podium, sir. State your name if you would.
Michael Watson. We both own property on the corner of Deering and I-94, where they put in that roundabout. Oops, sorry about that. We wanted the roundabout. You know, we were very supportive. A lot of people have died on that corner. A couple problems came up since they built it. For the most part, MDOT kind of just brushed everything off. Mainly, I own 2 properties on there. Both properties had a 66-foot easement granted when the highway was built in like 1917. We have all the paperwork that shows the easements that were given at that. Well, they weren't given. The land was acquired from like 3 different addresses, and that was the legal description of everything that was approved upon back then. So when MDOT came in and built the roundabout, their surveyors, and this is all admitted to by MDOT, admitted to by the engineers, admitted to by the site supervisors. It's not like any of this is a question. They went 6 feet too far to the north on all of their surveys. So they ended up going onto a piece of property that they never bought. They never acquired any of it. So their answer to that was they put down a 40-foot driveway of concrete by 17-foot wide with all the gutters and all the amenities. And then a week later, they came and tore it all up because it was wrong. Okay, so be it. The next hurdle was MDOT stating that they have acquired that land from the county. It was always county land every time we talked to anybody. We've maintained it, we've gravelled it, we've mowed it. I mean, everything about the land we took care of. Anything we tried to get anything done, we were told it was county land, you had to go through the county. Well, they're coming in now saying that our easement, they can change. Well, that's like legal granted to the properties that were there, which are all in our description of our land. So now I have 2 addresses there, 2 separate residences, and they're saying that they've brought our easement down from 66 foot, which we've had since 1917, down to like 20-something feet. So we're just trying to clarify, like, I don't know how that could happen if that's granted to my, like, those addresses. Now, they put like 4 acres of concrete. Nobody ever came out by their own admission to do any water surveys or anything. So they're pointing their drains right at the field. So when we ask about what are you going to do with all this water when the rain comes, they blatantly answered that your field is going to be flooded out with our water. That is the answer. Well, they never purchased any land to have them the right to be able to flood out the field. It isn't like it's a question. That is their plan. If it rains too much, they're going to flood out that 20 acres, which BB's been there for like 100 and something years and it's never flooded out before. So we're just trying
20
to see,
seconds, just so you know, 20
We're
seconds.
just trying to see pretty much if there's a way to put a beam, a barrier, whatever, between where that drain would be and the field, and then get some clarification on what's going on with my properties for the easement. That was pretty much it.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other public comment? Any public comment? All right.
Probably just going to reiterate.
Could you state your name, sir, please, for the record?
Pardon me?
Could you state your name, please?
John Beebe,
Okay.
Deering Road, 2750. They built the roundabout to the south of me, which is fine. I like the roundabout. I think it's a great one. But when they built it, they built on my property. I asked them to get off, and they said, well, it's not really that much. We're not on that far. I said, it doesn't matter to me how far you're on it. You just need to either get off or move to the south, 6 to 10 feet, whatever it takes. And they said they weren't going to, and started pouring concrete. and then the deal comes up with a watershed on me. Where that ends up, I don't know. I haven't had a storm big enough to find out whether they're gonna dump and make my field a marsh or not. I have pictures and lots of witnesses that I grow crops there every year with no problem, including this year, which has been a fairly wet year with major storms. Crop is fine. So I would like, from what I've gathered this morning from talking to people, probably nothing's gonna happen here. So, I would assume that you people have some control or some contact with the drain commissioner. I would like to see something done with that.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other public comment? Any public comment? Last opportunity for public comment. Seeing none, public comment's now closed. Takes us to item 4A of committee items. I'd be looking for a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Duckham, supported by Williams. Discussion, Commissioner Bear.
Thank you. Last month's meeting minutes, under reporting schedule, it included that the 911 quarterly report would be on our schedule for today. It's not on our schedule for today. So is the 911 quarterly report going to be reporting to us next month?
Refer that to administration. Can we get Commissioner Bear an answer?
We can get him an answer. I'm not sure why it's not here. Deborah, have you heard from Jason at all?
No, I have not. Just sometimes they do request due to conflicts or something. I know there is a emergency management event today, so he might have requested in a different date. Our emergency manager has to go to it as well, but there's an event today an emergency event that they're planning.
Okay, so can we have Mr. Hammond, can we have Mr. Hammond respond to Commissioner Bear as to when he'll give him the report, please?
Yeah, generally they work with Delane in the scheduling, so I'll check with Delane.
Thank you. Sufficient, Commissioner Bear?
Yes.
Okay. You're welcome. We have a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes unanimously. Takes us to item B, appointments. It is that same position that is a commissioner position. Commissioner Snell was the current member. He had a scheduling conflict. Commissioner Walls looked into doing it, and she also would have a scheduling conflict. Hoping we can get a commissioner to commit to being on this Emergency Management Advisory Council. If you're interested, please let Michael or Deborah know. Takes us to item C, the prosecutor quarterly report. Mr. Jarzinka's here. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Morning, committee. Russ is loading up the PowerPoint. This is actually a semi-annual report, not a quarterly report. Russ, you can go to the next page. First page. I think we'll go back a little bit. There we go. For the first 6 months of this year, basically it shows warrants authorized, 2024 so far, 1,231 felonies, warrants authorized, misdemeanor 694. You can compare it to the previous years. You can see we're a little bit lower than that, but not that much lower. Next page, please, next slide. Okay, so far this year, major cases, just to highlight the Ross Ball jury verdict. That was an open murder case. He was convicted. Murder, sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Stephen Highlands was a drunk driving case, found guilty and sentenced to a year in jail and 24 months probation. Then in April we had, it was a case that finally came to trial. It was a drunk driving case. Two people died in that case north of town and had a hung jury, so that's going to be retried retrial is set for February 10th of 2025. Next slide, please. Upcoming major trials, there was one scheduled to start today. It's an older murder case, happened here in the city, Southridge Park Apartments. DeMonte Rouser is the defendant. It was a social media setting where someone was trying to sell an Xbox. They met at the grounds of Southridge Park Apartments. There was gunfire and ended up with a homicide. So that's supposed to start today. Next slide. One of the things you know that we do in the office is that by statute, we have to review petitions that are filed against citizens and to involuntarily commit them to the hospital for mental illness or they're a danger to themselves or others. We have to do that. Currently past 6 months, we reviewed 128 petitions for that, and by statute, we have to represent the petitioner if the petitioner asks us to represent them. So it used to be we did a lot of those in person. We'd have to go to the hospital. When I was an assistant, we'd have to go to the mental health ward and go up to the floor and get locked in on the floor, and the judge would come with the recorder, and we'd have petition reviews, hearings, usually 2 days a week. Now a lot of those petitions are done by Zoom, but still, it's a pretty significant responsibility that we have to have one assistant or two handle those every week. Next slide. Another item that we have to cover that it's not a criminal matter is personal protection orders. By statute, we, if requested, have to represent a petitioner in those cases. If there's been a violation, this just indicates so far in the first 6 months, we've attended about 156 of those hearings in circuit court so far this year. So do the math, roughly it's going to be about 300 that we're going to have to cover this year. That trend continues. Next slide. Victims' rights, that's part of our office. By state statute, the Michigan Constitution, a person who's a victim of felony crime or a serious misdemeanor, we are obligated by law that we have to notify that victim of the proceedings, notify them their rights to be notified, and if they want to be involved, to attend hearings, not just trials. And we do have a conviction, have a right to make a statement, our victim impact statement, actually appear in court, to actually read it or have someone read it. And so that's a pretty active office. Sue Vogt was our coordinator. She retired. Christy Conley took over. She was a deputy assistant. So that office is extremely helpful to us, very helpful to victims, because to navigate the system is very important, especially if you're a victim. You've never been in the court system before. It's very foreign, can be very cold, hostile. So they do a great job. We have a waiting area in our office, attached to our office on the third floor of the courthouse. So it's a good place for victims to wait when they have to testify. And the Victims' Rights Unit, they'll have a person go down with them to court or upstairs to court at circuit court when they come to testify, so they're not by themselves. So that's extremely helpful. They do a great job. And that you can tell that so far in 6 months, they've generated over 2,000 letters to victims of crime, which that's a pretty significant number. Next slide, Russ. Probably one of the big, the board knows, this committee knows, big project in our office this year has been a transition to a new software to do our online work, or not online work, but our paperless work. It's a software known as Carpel, and so we made the transition over from OnBase to Carpel. The difference is OnBase is never intended for prosecutors' offices. It was more of something you could fit to a particular organization. Carpel is specifically designed for prosecutors' offices. And so that started in January, actually. with our IT department's done a great job with Ben Muscat and his staff. And so we went live on July 29th. So we're basically in the process of kind of learning the ins and outs of how Carpel works. So one of the major problems we have with OnBase is just it broke down a lot on a weekly basis, and we didn't get good support from the vendor. And so one of the selling points for Carpel is that not only is it designed just for prosecutors and their offices, but also they have excellent support, and it doesn't break down like OnBase. And so far, I can tell you that we haven't had the issues of OnBase that we've had with Carpel that we've had with OnBase. So I think that's going to work out well. And the rest of the state is going to Carpel. All the 83 prosecutors' offices in the state for their counties are all switching to Carpel over the next 3 years. So I think that says a lot about this software.
Mr. Jarosinko, Commissioner Bear had a question.
Yes.
Thank you. Under your Carpel projects, the last bullet point, implement Carpel's electronic subpoena system for more efficient delivery of subpoenas to law enforcement officers. So the law enforcement officers will get an electronic notice that someone has been subpoenaed and must show up,
Yes.
and the individual that the subpoena is enforcing against, how are they notified that they must show up for court?
You mean the defendant?
The defendant.
Defendant doesn't get subpoenaed to court, but they have an attorney, normally either retained or court appointed, and they go to court hearings, so they get a notice from the court, both verbally and in writing, about a future court date, whether it's a trial date, another pretrial date, a sentencing. They get directly notified by the court.
The communication to the defendant and defendant's attorney, is that physical paper signed, or is that also electronic?
It's not electronic because my experience that the defendants do appear in court with their attorney, and so the judge actually through his clerk will let them know what is our next court date going to be or what the trial date's going to be. So they actually have personal knowledge of that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions on that, Carpel? Okay, Russ, next slide, please. Okay, just kind of wrapping up. I think you've seen this before, but our office is pretty busy in the community. We've done a number of different things, the heroin and prescription drug use task force. We just had a quarterly meeting last week. There's been 8 drug summits held on opioids. We've had, not listed on here, well, yes, it is, the Summit to Reduce Violence. We've had 3 of those, basically addressing gun violence in the county. Specifically, we've had homicides in the city. We had 3 of those. Also participated in a number of the different boards, and also with the Prosecutor Association, the Corrections Committee, Drug Initiatives Committee. I've served as a director on the board of directors for PAM for the State Association the past 10 years. So we're the offices, and one of the things I've asked my staff over my tenure is to be involved in the community in somehow, some kind of board or volunteer activity, just to be invested in the community, since we do serve the community as public servants. Next slide, Russ. Okay, this kind of just highlights, we had the drug summit, we had a quarterly meeting last week. I do meet with citizens by appointment, coffee meetings. We're part of the city's Project Safe Neighborhood with the Sheriff's Department, the city, and state police with that. Violent offenders, we have met with the city and other officers and agencies and federal agencies, the last 4 or 5 years, trying to work on cases in the city for violence. Next slide. I think that's it. Okay. And I guess lastly, I think the last part of my report is probably well known in this group, is that I'm finishing up as prosecuting attorney for the county. It's my 12th year. It's my 3rd term. And there's going to be a transition. The county's going to elect a new prosecuting attorney come November 5th. It appears it's going to be my assistant, Kelsey Guernsey, who won the Republican primary. There's not a Democratic challenger in the general election. And so that transition has kind of taken place already with her since she won the primary. So we've got 4 months. I think that's going to be a smooth transition to kind of learn some of the nuances behind the job. She's going to do an excellent job. Hired her. She's in her 11th year with me, and I've seen her do excellent work. And so I have high expectations that she'll continue the work we've done at the prosecutor's office and actually do better. So, any questions?
Committee members, are there any questions? Commissioner Bear?
On the first slide for community impact, under the board's item like Summit to Reduce Violence, when we have programs like that and they're funded, how do we know, how do you evaluate whether this program is effective and should be continued? How do you evaluate, has violence been reduced or has it not? How do you track your efforts and your accomplishments?
Well, that's an excellent question. I don't think we have any specific tracking or metric mechanism other than you look at crime statistics. In the community, I think last year were down. But for me, as a prosecutor, our job is not to do a drug summit on the opioid epidemic. It's not a job to do a summit to reduce violence. That's above and beyond the role of this job. The reason why that's done is namely to create public awareness on those issues and to ask citizens to get involved, because I can tell you, law enforcement, I've got the sheriff here, city police chief, other chiefs, been highly involved behind the scenes. Lots and lots of effort has been made, especially on gun violence, to reduce that. These initiatives or these summits are really asking the community to get involved with their ideas because it's their community too. And so do I have any metrics? I would say my response would be, I think that people want to get involved, have gotten involved, and to make a difference, whatever way that is, big or small. I certainly can tell with the opioid effort, I'm just really grateful for all the citizens and groups that came forward and did make a difference. I think Jackson County was way ahead of many of the other counties in the state of Michigan in addressing that issue when this was happening back in 2013, 14. Opioid was an epidemic, we really lacked a lot of things that weren't being done that could be done. And I think the community really stepped forward to address that. So that would be my metric, at least on that particular effort.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to say thank you for your years of service and your contribution to the county. I remember in my my first term, we had several conversations that continued till present day. Oftentimes, I was referred to your office for various questionings, for various things, and after our discussions, if I didn't get the answer in that meeting within an hour, or maybe even by the end of the day, I had an email or several emails explaining a lot of what we discussed. So I just wanted to appreciate everything that you've done, and again, to your contribution to the county. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
If nothing else, I'd echo Commissioner Williams said, specifically with an issue. I just reached out to you recently, and you reached out to the victim directly, and I greatly appreciate it. And all your years of service to Jackson County, so thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee.
Be looking for a motion to receive the prosecutor report. Moved by Williams, supported by Duckham. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Takes us to item D, the sheriff's semi-annual report. Sheriff Schutte is here. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. Okay. So we can move on to the next slide, please, Russ. So as the prosecutor said, we planned and participated in the drug and violence summits. I won't read this verbatim. I'm just going to hit the highlights. Of course, we have 5 new road patrol deputies, 3 new corrections deputies. 2 new casual deputies were hired, and that's primarily for our courthouse security. 3 graduated from the police academy. It says they're in field training. Just last week, they came off field training, and they are out on solo patrol now. Our shooting range is just about, we will be able to start utilizing that, at least preliminarily here by mid-month. There'll be some other finishing touches that will need to be done on it, but safety and the barriers and everything is just about completed. Next slide. K9 has been a valuable asset. In fact, just located some meth in one of our cells, in one of our brand new cells. I shouldn't say brand new cells, one of our cells for brand new arrestees. Freudian slip there. That's a huge impact on us because that stuff doesn't go into our general population. And the K9 has proven to be extraordinarily valuable with that because we don't have the scanning devices, as you know. One thing that I'm very proud of in our Corrections Division too is the creation of our intelligence unit and our cell extraction response team. Both of these are designed to decrease liability inside of our institution, specifically with the intelligence unit, by looking up things that are occurring inside the jail as they're occurring and then addressing those issues. Cell extraction response team is important for a lot of our folks that are violent, many of which have mental health issues. They're specifically trained in taking care of those issues and dealing with those issues in the least most conflict oriented way. We're working to try and get the medications for opioid use disorder program back in place. One of the things that I fear is that that's going to be mandated and we're not going to be able to have that instituted. So hopefully we'll be able to get that taken care of. You'll notice that we finally were able to lift COVID restrictions. Probably about April of this year is when it happened, mid-April-ish. And the reason why I don't know exactly is we kind of went back and forth a couple of different times. But immediately saw an increase in the collection of fines. People want to pay their fines if they have to go to jail. Friend of the court had a significant increase in collections. 1 month, we went from $600, which were our COVID restrictions, and to the next month, we went to $16,000 in collections. And you heard that right, $600 to $16,000. Next slide, please. So community engagement's been big for us, as well as you know. We continue on our social media campaigns with different things. Facebook is huge for us. Our Strive team has been actively involved in our open house, and this is an all-volunteer team, by the way. It's important that you know that. Our candlelight vigil. Our car seat drive has been huge. We've given actually over, I believe, 35 car seats. Just this half of the year alone, 14 car seats have been donated. And these are a lot of folks that simply cannot afford a car seat, most of which occurs at the hospital after a child has been born and they need to transport that child home. So we're often going to the hospital and handing them over, which is just huge for public relations for us. So we continue to go to community events, and that's been huge for our recruitment effort as well. We've had several come in through those efforts. Next slide, please. So I'm gonna go over all the patrol statistics. We're about on par, maybe a little bit higher than average years at this point in time. Next, please. We've had 2 homicides this year. Both of them are domestic-related homicides. One of them, the suspect, killed himself afterward, and the other one, the suspect, is in custody. We've had 8 pursuits, which are dangerous, as well as the public, and they've all ended without problems, without crashes. 4 fatal accidents have been investigated by our team. And JNET investigations are continuing to be successful as well. Next slide, please. Moving on to corrections. Our bookings are up slightly. Again, this is 6 months, so We just released that COVID restrictions there, probably, like I say, late April. So bookings are up a little bit. You can see the use of force, 83, which is very high inside of our institution as well. Mental health visits, an incredible number, 78, 75. Community mental health has done a fantastic job inside of our institution. Been very pleased with them. Next. We had 2 inmates nearly die from overdose, and they were saved by our deputies in quick action. And you've seen inside of the facility just how many things they have to keep track of to be able to see that somebody is actually succumbing to an overdose is really remarkable on their parts, and to be able to save them is also fantastic. We've had 10 assaults on staff, which is extraordinarily high at a 6-month mark, and we've had 4 attempt escapes. So our school resource deputies, there's 4 of them. I wanted to make sure that was clear. These are the districts: Northwest, Hanover Horton, Western, and Vandercook Lake schools. Hanover Horton has a kind of a unique situation. I wanted to kind of bring that to your attention a little bit. The community has utilized both the village, the township, and the third-party school to have a deputy be involved in all aspects of each different organization. So the township has a deputy patrolling, the village has a deputy patrolling, and the school has a deputy patrolling every day. And instead of separating and having that deputy just be focused in one particular area, they use them in all 3 areas. And by doing that, have been able to spread the costs around. So I think it's been a highly successful program and kind of an innovative, out-of-the-box kind of thinking. Our Explorer program continues to be successful. We have 3 instructors in the Explorer Academy that takes place once a year in the summertime. Court security continues to be successful.
Sheriff, can I stop you 1 second? The administrator had a
sorry.
question.
Just a quick question. You lost me a little bit on that last deputy thing. Do they have 3 deputies or 1 person driving around?
Oh, in the Explorer program?
School. Yeah, you said Hanover, special, unique. Was it 3 deputies they have?
No, they have 1 deputy that handles all of that. I'm sorry. Yes, 1 deputy for all 3 different entities.
Okay.
And they combine for the costs and share in the costs.
Sure, they're sharing a deputy, okay. 'Cause,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was thinking 3.
I'm sorry, I'm going too fast. I apologize.
3, I can't believe 3. Okay.
Just 1. Yep. And then moving on to I'm sorry.
Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on the school resource deputies, is this something that the school district pays for?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
Sure. And then on to Marine Patrol. I think that's where I was at. Yes, Marine Patrol. This is something that is funded through state grants. The dive team, that is all volunteer. Mounted Division and Reserves are also volunteer. And that's it for that slide. And as well as you know, 2024, highly decorated in just his short time with us, receiving the Sheriff's Star of Valor, which is the highest award that he can receive through our department. He was the POAM Officer of the Year and also received the Distinguished Service Medal from the Michigan Sheriff's Association. He'll be sadly missed, and is sadly missed. And that's all I have.
Committee members, are there any questions? Seeing none, I will address the elephant in the room. Everyone probably saw the news or didn't, but I want to make it crystal clear from my standpoint that I 100% support you guys. Okay?
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And that includes the millage. And every meeting I go to, I tell the public how critical this is, that if this particular millage request, which is just for operations, doesn't pass, it's going to have a profound impact on the community because budget cuts are the only way to offset lost revenue. So I want your officers to know, I want you to know that I'm sorry that some of the individuals feel that way, but it couldn't be farther from the truth. We all want a safe community, and I think I speak for all the commissioners up here. Just
Thank you
wanted you
very
to know
much.
that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. I'd be looking for a motion to receive the report.
Support.
Moved by Bear, supported by Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes unanimously. And Sarah was faster than my computer. Good morning, friend of the court.
Good morning, everyone. Before you, I have nearing the end of our fiscal year, so most county agencies are on the calendar year. We're on the fiscal year, so you get our data a little bit earlier. Starting with our federal incentives, you can see that we are above the statewide average on almost everything, half a point on the current support percentage. I'm working on that one. And you'll notice too that on our support order percentage, we are at 79.9. If we can get it to 80 by the end of the fiscal year, we get the full benefit from the federal incentive. There's nothing more to be gained by going above 80%, but there's a significant impact if we get to 80%. So we're going to work really hard on getting to 80%. And have some concerted efforts. We have some reports that we can work, things like that, to try to make that 0.1 get there. Moving down to the contract performance standards, as you can see, we're above on everything except for order establishment and service of process. And this was part and parcel to when we combined and became an establishment department. We did revamp how we were serving and making sure that we were getting notification to the parties that they were getting served for a child support order. It did create delays, and so we're seeing the end result of that. But I stand behind that number because I know that those individuals were notified that there was a pending case, that they had an opportunity to come and talk to us about it. So the process did take a little longer. We're now moving back up to speed, and I anticipate by the next time I see you guys, that's going to be where it's supposed to be. So we are working on it. I also wanted to highlight our bench warrant department because as we talked about the last time I was here, there were some numbers that weren't so great, and I had commented that not having our jail was really a negative impact on our collections. So I wanted to give that information to you now that the jail is back opened up. As you can see, 2019, our total monies collected strictly through our efforts of our bench warrant officers and the warrant department was just over $400,000. And then in 2023, as things were closed, COVID, all the things, we were down to $61,000 in collections. The jail reopened for us in April of 2024, and we're already up to $120,000 in collections. I also wanted to clarify, in case there was any questions, the warrants handled is different from the number of arrests. We don't look forward to arresting people that have warrants for non-payment of child support. We text people, we remind people, we have an open door policy. We always encourage people that if they have a warrant to come to our office, come talk to us. It is not our goal to put anybody in jail for non-payment of child support. Sometimes it's necessary. So the warrants handled are the number of cases where people have contacted us and said, hey, I missed my hearing, or I have a warrant, I want to get it resolved. And so we schedule an appointment with them, they come into the office, we talk to them, we get them on track and get them complying with their child support payments without the jail. So I did want to distinguish between the two on that, because that is an important thing. I don't want people to ever think that they need to hide from us if they miss a hearing or if they have a warrant, because the goal is compliance. The goal is to get money to the families. It's not to put people in jail. So, any questions about all that?
Committee members, any questions? Commissioner Duckham?
Not a question, a comment. I have heard very little, practically nothing of complaints coming about your organization. I think it indicates a job well done by your staff and yourself.
Thank you.
It's not an easy job. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, be looking for a motion to receive the report. Moved by Bear.
Support.
Supported by Walls. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, passed unanimously. Thank you. Have a great day. Takes us to item F, Youth Center Semi-Annual Report. Mr. Baker is here. Morning, Chuck.
Good morning. Morning, Commissioners. Just a brief update from the youth center this morning. We've well underway into our Verigy project. We're about 10 months into that project at the youth center. They have completed all of the lighting. The LED lighting has been transferred over to LED. We have a major solar panel field out behind the youth center now, which I understand is generating more than enough electricity to operate the youth center. So that's been nice. It's also interested some of our kids in alternative energies, so that's something we'll be looking into as well. The final part of that Verigy project is they are currently installing the rooftop units at the youth center. I believe there are 6 of those in total going in, and then, you know, setting up all the controls and everything for them as well. But that project has gone really well. We're glad to have our building back soon after all this construction, but we're very thankful to have these new things. In terms of staffing, we are just continuing to see difficulty with recruitment and hiring of qualified, experienced staff. Seeing a lot of turnover on the night shift, and basically nobody wants to work nights and weekends. So those are tough shifts for us to fill. We currently have 7 youth specialist positions that are currently vacant. And we also have a retirement coming up. Lindell Pritchett, after 23 years of employment at the youth center as a youth specialist, has decided that she's going to retire. So at the end of September, we'll be having a retirement party for Lindell. Then later on this month, at the end of September, we will be having all of our supervisors attend a Achieving Supervisory Excellence training that's over in Eaton County, given by Mackinlow, which is basically a supervision program specifically for the people in correctional atmospheres. So looking forward to hopefully improving some of our supervisory skills there. Then later this week, the Michigan Juvenile Detention Association is recognizing staff from across the state and their good work within their individual facilities. And for here in Jackson, we will be recognizing Bethany Kennedy as the Detention Youth Worker of the Year, Cornell Sample as the Treatment Youth Worker of the Year, and Matt Devlin as the Support Worker of the Year. In terms of census, lodging referrals from Jackson County have been down. So we continue to provide courtesy supervision for other counties. There are a lot of counties up north that are in desperate need of lodging services. Our census is currently up to 21 now, with 7 of those still being out of county. And we're able to generate significant revenue when we are able to do those courtesy holds. So that hopefully helps the bottom line as well. So,
Commissioner Duckham.
I remember the days not too far in the past where you were full.
right.
What do you contribute the lower census to?
Things significantly changed during COVID. I don't know what that is. I don't know that we've solved the problem of juvenile crime. I think it's a combination of having fewer officers on the streets, fewer officers in the schools, and just, I don't know, those petitions just aren't coming through anymore. So why that is, I'm not entirely sure, but we're certainly seeing a reduction in petitions.
I noticed that. What do we generate for the out-of-county,
Those are generally about $260 a day.
260 a day? Okay. Well, maybe you're doing such a great job.
Well, maybe.
I hope so.
That was
Thank
my
you.
goal when I started my career.
Thank you.
I just have a question on the census so that I'm understanding it correctly. So it's saying we have 18 bodies with 34 beds available.
Correct,
So we're roughly only at 50% capacity.
correct.
Okay.
I have the beds, I just don't have the staff to supervise the
To
kids in those
supervise.
beds.
I got you. Okay. That helps me understand a little bit better the data I'm looking at.
If you had the staff.
If I had the staff, I could expand and probably generate a whole lot of revenue.
All right. Commissioner Bear had a quick question.
I'd like to follow up a little bit on Commissioner Duckham's question. Your answer then, I interpreted your answer, tell me if I heard it right or wrong, that the visible police presence in our community has contributed to the fewer children being incarcerated?
That's an assumption on my part. I don't have any data to support that, but that's just my gut feeling.
Logical to me. If your police are visibly present, you get less crime.
I think the other part is we have a lot of, school has changed since COVID, and we have a lot of students now that are attending school online, so they're not getting the suspensions and probation violations for getting into fights or academic failure or not attending, things like that. So,
No other questions. Be looking for a motion to receive the report. Moved by Duckham, supported by Walls. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you, Chuck. Have a great day.
thank you.
Takes us to item G, Animal Shelter, and we have Lydia here. Good morning.
Good morning. So we have, for our third quarter, our animal control responses have increased by almost over 200, actually. We also have 2 new animal control officers. One is part-time and one is full-time. That is replacing 2 full-time officers. I wasn't seeing the need. We're going to try a part-time officer instead of full-time to see if that meets the community needs. And if it doesn't, we'll go back to the full-time. But I wasn't seeing the numbers that justified having 3 full-time. So we're going to just try that out and see if that is satisfactory, and then our response times are still adequate. I had to rerun these numbers a couple times for our cat statistics and dog as well, but we had I know it felt busy, but it was a significant increase in the number of intakes for cats and dogs in this quarter compared to the second quarter. As you can see, there's a lot more animals coming through the shelter, both dogs and cats. And that was, stray and owner surrenders was the primary reason for that. You can move past dogs and cats. Any questions on dogs or cats? Okay. Community engagement, we've been very busy still out in the community. Thanks to the help of all of our volunteers, we've been able to accommodate most requests for engagement. We're thankful to the businesses that invite us to cooperate with them and all the pet therapy events that we do. We were able to have host the MDARD law enforcement training in our community room in July. And we hosted an animal control presentation in August in our community room as well. We really enjoyed partnering with the Jackson District Public Library for our Reading with the Pets event that has been sold out, so to speak. They only have so many slots available for that because we only have so many spaces to accommodate that, but it's been very fun. And our catnip pillow ladies have switched to making bookmarks for that event, so all the people that attend and the kids attend get bookmarks to take home with them as well. The Art Main Chevrolet is hosting again the Dunk Tank Charity Bank. So they are donating those proceeds to Jackson County Animal Shelter again, and that will be coming up in September. So if you'd like to go dunk one of their staff members, that should be fun. I think we'll also be there with some pets available for adoption. And we we usually do the, end of the year, but we did run this year, just year to date, just to kind of see where we're at on numbers of intake and where they're all coming from. And we have consistently had increases year over year, but the number has pretty much stayed the same as far as comparison to the number of stray or seized animals coming in, owner surrenders, and numbers of ones that are transferred from other agencies within the state of Michigan. And then the ones coming from primarily Texas is the only out-of-state agency that we work with now. But those numbers are pretty consistent where they're coming from, even though they are increasing year after, year over year. As well as our clinic services, those are also increasing year over year. And those just show some of the reasons that people come to JCAS for services, spay, neuter, microchip, rabies vaccines, feral cats, quarantine follow-ups, nail trims, and then our Mama's Last Litter program, which is kind of unique to Jackson County. And that's where if people have accidental litters, they can bring the mom and the whole litter into Jackson County. We spay the mom for low cost. There's no charge to bring the litter. We spay neuter that whole litter and we adopt them out. So we're stopping them from just giving the pets away for free and they're out reproducing and so on and so forth. So we're kind of, stopping that right there.
Got a quick question for you, Lydia.
Yes.
Is there a charge for those services there when they come?
Yes. Low cost.
And yeah, I was going to say low cost. Any concern in regard to direct competing with private sector vets?
No. I mean, these are services that that we are. I mean, we don't have really. There's no competition for us with these. Like the quarantine follow-up, that's not something that a vet's office does anyway. Mama's Last Litter is something unique that a vet's office isn't going to offer as well.
Sure.
So,
Terrific, thank you.
Commissioner Duncombe.
Good morning, Lydia.
oh, good morning.
You're doing an impressive job out there.
Thank you.
It almost looks like you're generating an income so what do you do with the money, the donations or the services? We adopt out dogs from Texas, and where does this all go? Does it supplement your budget, or do you do expanded services with your budget? Can you tell me?
Yes, so we do, we have some money in a rainy day fund. We have a lot of vehicle maintenance for the animal control trucks as well. So when we have money, we make sure that we have money to supplement our budget. So basically, we're maintaining what we're doing. So does that answer your question?
Yes, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you. It's
welcome.
impressive.
thank you, I appreciate you.
One second. Commissioner Bear had a question, then I'll come to you.
Hello.
Thank you. On your slide, pets receiving Jackson County Animal Shelter Clinic Services.
Yes,
Got a question on this, like the spaying and neutering.
yes.
Are these services what you provide to the animals before they're adopted? Or is this citizens with their own animal can come into the clinic and you provide these services for a fee? What is that?
Primarily, it's all of the animals that we adopt out are spayed and neutered. That's part of the adoption fee. We also provide the Mama's Last Litter. So that's if there is an accidental litter, as I was explaining. So we make sure that those animals are spayed or neutered. Also for feral cats that are, unowned animals, basically. If someone traps those animals and wants them spayed and neutered and then released back into the community, we also will provide that service.
So you do provide services for citizens to bring in their own animal that they already have.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Mr. Overton.
I just wanted to clarify, the animal shelter does not make a profit. It operates on a millage. We have
Yes,
revenue coming in through services that we offer, but we could not function without the taxpayers' generous support.
100%. The services that we provide will never cover the expense we put into the animals' care and medical care.
Okay, I'll be looking for a motion to receive the report. Moved by Bear, supported by Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passed unanimously. Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Takes us to the emergency management report. Corey is here today. Good morning, Mr. Kubik.
Good
Am
morning,
I
Mr.
pronouncing
Chair.
that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Next slide. Maybe.
Russ,
There we go. So some significant activities we had over the last quarter, a few incidents that occurred as well as a planned incident. I-94, we had a bus rollover, school bus rollover. That started off as a pretty scary incident, thinking about children that may be on board. Thankfully, most of the children ended up having very, very minor injuries. It was a school bus that had restraints in them, which I think greatly reduced the impact. Overall, I just want to say great job to the first responders, all the agencies that were involved, the ISD, as well as 911. The coordination between all of the parties that were involved with that was excellent. So kudos to everybody there. Jackson County Fair, we did develop an instant action plan for our public safety agencies that were participating with that, as well as publishing that to the Michigan Critical Incident Management System. And then we also had a partnership with the National Weather Service for weather monitoring for the fair, which we did have a couple of minor weather impacts, including a tornado watch that was issued one of the days for that event. Many have seen in the news, we did have a plane crash that did occur out in Napoleon Township that unfortunately the pilot did succumb to injuries, as well as a couple of hazmat incidents that went on concurrently. One at Eaton Corporation did have a couple of patients that were transported from that incident over to Henry Ford Jackson Hospital, as well as another one on East High Street that was a seal coating unit that ended up catching fire and then having a release of some liquid tar product into the street and ultimately into the storm drains. Michigan Eagle was contacted on that for response to that, as well as a cleanup company to come and help mitigate that. Mass notifications for the quarter, we had 6 emergency notifications. Most of those were road closures and missing persons, and we did have 4 weather warnings that were issued. Next slide. We were able to complete the siren repair for the courthouse. That was something that was outstanding for a while now. Did require a motor replacement, so we worked with the vendor on that to get that completed and that back operational. We have emergency support plans for our emergency action guidelines as required for those jurisdictions with over 10,000. We've received those from Summit Leone Township as Blackman Township and are still waiting the city. Blackman still needs a final signature as well. The Sarah Title III visit at HB Fuller is a large industrial complex that makes adhesives. We did visit them by invite from their staff, their safety team, and we'll be doing some follow-up there as well. But overall, a lot of stuff going on there in terms of hazard there. There's a lot of high hazard product that they handle, and we'll be continuing to work with them as well as a state Sarah Title III planning analyst to help us with further solidifying their plans for response there. I had a meeting with Jackson Community Foundation. They are looking to establish the Jackson Strong Fund, which would be available for use post-disaster, as well as the United Way of South Central Michigan looking to do something similar. Both agencies reached out and are looking to help with that to be able to help locally should we have some major disaster in the county. Also attended a demo of technology called Eagle Eye for 911. I do support this. I think it's a fantastic technology which would allow 911 to have access to cameras that are shared by the end user or private camera systems that exist within businesses and such within our county. These cameras would only be available during 911 calls and would not be accessible to the dispatchers anytime after that. So did visit a demo of that in Livingston County along with Director Hammond from 911 and thought that that was a great technology that maybe we can look into for Jackson County in the future.
Commissioner Bear had a question.
Yes, go ahead.
On your Eagle Eye 911 camera share system, what do your cameras look at, and how do you protect the privacy of citizens and not have this just be a aerial spy system?
So the cameras are only activated during a 911 call. The dispatcher would have a link that pops up to them within the Rapid SOS system, is my understanding of it. And it's only cameras that are within, I believe, 100 feet of where the cell phone call is placed. The dispatcher can then click on that, and it's essentially giving them access to those cameras that are provided willingly by the end user. The end user actually pays into the system, so it would be businesses, things like that would provide that. And ultimately, in terms of privacy, there's no link or recording that occurs within the county. All that would be held proprietary to the end user that's providing that bridge to our 911 system.
Well, with our sheriff's flock camera system, we impose certain controls, expected certain privacy, limited the amount of time that any of those photographs could be retained. Are you familiar with the controls that were placed on the sheriff? And do you have the same controls on your cameras?
So these
Having
cameras
seen
are
the
not,
privacy policy.
just to clarify, these cameras are not currently in use. This is just something that we looked at for an emerging technology. My understanding is that there's simply a bridge that is placed between the users on the end, those businesses that decide they want to provide that access to our 911 center. But at this time, we have none that are active within the county, and there would be no retention of any data whatsoever by the county. It's simply just an accessibility bridge that would be provided, is my understanding of it. Director Hammond would probably have more information from that, working directly with the vendor.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. For the Homeland Security Grant Program, listed are the allocation amounts that we received for the last 3 fiscal years. We'll bring in a fair amount of money that's used for different projects. Some of the projects are listed here. I won't go through all of them. Most of those are pre-existing that we are wrapping up. The newest one is for our Emergency Operations Center video conferencing. We're looking to add some technology within our Emergency Operations Center to help us with video conferencing and controls of the displays within the EOC. So that was approved locally, still waiting on state approval on that. Any questions there? If not, additional training and exercises. Did attend Ingham County Active Violence Incident and Rescue Task Force exercise. That was at Stockbridge High School. I served as an evaluator for that exercise. A lot of good lessons learned there, primarily on communications. They had some issues with their radio system working within the school there. At Eaton County, had a similar exercise actually the very next week. Similarly, a lot of good lessons learned there. They have a pretty robust process in Eaton County and actually have a whole AVI team that is available for response, and they have a really good reunification process that they developed with their GIS program. So some good takeaways there, and some good contacts were made should we need some resources from them. Additionally, had a exercise that I attended at Henry Ford Jackson Hospital. They conducted a active shooter tabletop exercise, with a vendor that they brought in, third party that was grant funded to host that exercise. A lot of good discussion there as well. Today, actually, tomorrow and Wednesday, we'll have a similar exercise here within Jackson County. So I will be participating in that later this morning, as well as the next 2 days, working with our local agencies as well. And then lastly, we did host a evac training for our Genesis mass notification software as part of an add-on that they actually provided us as part of our contract. There's a software program that they have to assist with evacuation orders and such. And they break the county down into small little geographic shapes, if you will, that are based on travel routes and different abilities for evacuation. Our biggest takeaway from the meeting and the training that they did is that it provides us an awesome opportunity to really look at pre-planning for incidents and really looking at how we can quickly identify what critical infrastructure that we have within those zones, and then quickly be able to communicate out to them, as well as identify traffic control points. So really good technology there as well that we're looking to leverage in the future. And that is all I have. Any questions?
Committee members, any questions? If not, I'd be looking for a motion to receive the report.
So moved.
Moved by Bear, supported by Duckham. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much. Have a great day, Corey. Brings us to item I, Airport Semi-Annual Report. Juan Zapata is here. Good morning, Juan.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Chair. Before we get started, I wanted to spend a couple of minutes on a little history of the airport. And most of you know the airport was owned by Reynolds, the Reynolds family. And in 1918, they went ahead and they donated 160 acres to the city of Jackson, who took over the operation of the airport. Back then, it was pretty much the birth of aviation. First aircraft was flying in 1903, so we're talking about 15 years later. And nobody really knew what aviation was going to be all about. They kept operating the airport until 1976, where the county took over the operations of the airport. And currently, we have 950 acres that are assigned to the airport. 160 of those are the original acres that were donated by the Reynolds family. When the county took over the operation of the airport, the Reynolds family did not agree to remove a reverter clause on their donation. That means that if we are to ever have to shut down the airport, those 160 acres go back to the Reynolds family, and the rest of the acres, close to 800 acres, those have been purchased by the federal government in conjunction with the county. So every time, there's 39 grant agreements that are included with those contracts. And one of those grant agreements, basically indicate that if we are to stop operating the airport, we have to sell all the property that has been purchased by the federal government at a fair market value, and those funds go back to the FAA. So if we were to go ahead and shut down the airport, it wouldn't really be much of a gain in revenue to the county. And the only reason I bring that up is the county airport, Jackson County Reynolds Field, is one of those departments that are not making money right now. The last time the airport made money was in 1986, which is when the airlines pulled out from Jackson. They stopped landing and taking off from Jackson, and they bypassed us, and they go now from Detroit to Chicago. And that's one of the reasons why I talk a lot about advanced air mobility, which is basically an advent of new technology and new types of aviation that is going to be affecting every one of us in the next 2 to 10 years. We'll all be getting deliveries by drones. We'll be flying an electric or hydrogen power eVTOL aircraft to go to Chicago or to go to Lansing or to go to Metro. So that's one of the things that we need to look at when we look at the airport. I want you guys to be aware that as the people that are in charge of operating the airport and running the airport, that even though the airport is revenue loser right now, and by revenue loser, I'm talking it costs the county roughly $750,000 a year to operate the airport, and the revenues from the airport, the direct revenues, are only about $350,000 to $400,000 every year. But you need to look at the airport as a economic engine to the community. The last report that was done by the Michigan DOT from 2023 indicated that the economic impact to the community, to the Jackson County community, was just over $46 million. That shows 137 jobs, 90 some of those jobs are on the airport itself, and close to 40 jobs are jobs that will not be in the community if it wasn't because of the airport. Case in point is that when Kmart went out of business, there was another company that took over that lease. That lease produces about $25,000 annually to the airport direct revenue to the airport, but they also hire close to 100 people that would not have gotten their jobs because Kmart was no longer there. So when we look at the airport, we need to make sure that we're looking at the airport as an economic engine to the community, and ultimately we want to look at it as a way for our citizens, the 160,000 people that live in Jackson, to be able to come to the airport and start their transportation needs to go to Chicago or to go to Spain or France or wherever, their transportation will begin here in Jackson. So any questions on that particular statements? The airport itself, we're looking to exceed over 40,000 operations for the first time since 2015. All of the county-owned hangars are 100% occupied. And the one incident that was had in the county, which was the fatality in Napoleon, that was an aircraft that was not based at the Jackson County Airport. It was an elderly lady that had been flying an ultralight aircraft with her husband for many years, and somehow she lost control. Our 10-year plan, if you can back up one slide. And I have a meeting tomorrow in Lansing with MDOT, and we're going to talk about our next 10-year plan for the airport. And this is where we decide and we compete for projects. There's close to 90 airports in the state of Michigan that are competing for federal projects at airports. And so this is what we'll be talking about, how are we going to maintain our runways, how are we going to develop advanced air mobility sections in the airport. And in there it shows the first two items, which is the taxi lane rehab on the east side of the airport. That was something that was taken care of this year already through ARPA funding. So we won't be needing to spend close to $700,000 on the taxiway rehabs on the east side. But basically, this is where, for 2025, we're looking at crack sealing all the pavement on the airport, and that's close to a $90,000 project. The county will be responsible for 5% of that, or $5,000. So this is where we have our federal contracts, which are usually 90% federal, 5% state, and 5% local. The other thing that we're going to be doing is our what was known as the corporate apron. It's now the auxiliary apron, and that's a project to rehab the auxiliary apron. This is where a lot of the jet traffic comes into Jackson. The pavement is starting to deteriorate, where it's beginning to peel and crack, and that's not good for jet airplanes. If they take any of the pieces of concrete into a jet engine, you're looking at about $100,000 to $200,000 that it will take to replace. If we can move on to the next slide, please. And so these are some of the federal projects that are currently undergoing at the airport. We have the air traffic control tower project. This project will be completed in late November of this year, and this will provide a brand new control tower building to the airport for the next 30 to 40 years. And the county was very generous with this project, and it'll be bringing back quite a bit of revenues back to the airport, because and when we look at the airport, we should not be looking at it as an airport for little airplanes. We got to look at it as a business airport. It's an airport that we're trying to attract business aviation to the community. Every time a business aircraft lands in Jackson, they're coming into Jackson to conduct business, or they're landing at Jackson to pick somebody else that's going to be conducting business outside of Jackson. So that's the way we should be looking at the airport. The next project is the terminal building update. And the bids were going to be open last Friday on the 6th. There was only one bidder that showed up. So we decided to prolong that bid time period by 2 weeks. And my understanding is there's at least one other bid from a local company that will be submitted before the bid is opened. And the other project rehabilitation. And that's just a small segment of the taxi lane that needs to be rehabilitated. The next slide shows what the control tower building is beginning to look like. And this is basically what it looked like back in 1961. It had the blue siding with windows. And if you recall from prior pictures, the building was looking all white, because back in 2012, the boiler to the building broke down. We didn't have the money to replace the boiler. So we ended up painting the building with a rubberized paint job that will decrease the amount of money to cool and heat the building. Well, now it's going back to its original looks, and now we can use the building 100% versus about 35%, which is the way that it's been used for the last 12 years or so. The next slide talks about the ARPA projects at the airport. We've already installed the air conditioning units in the terminal building and the air exchange unit in the terminal building. We're waiting for the carports to be installed in the parking lot. That's now being delayed to late October or November timeframe. And the solar panels will provide about 65% of the electric needs for the terminal building and the control tower building. And that's basically our biggest bill at the airport is paying for the electric needs of the airport. So this should help a lot with that. The water main and storm drain updates, that's also an ARPA project that's in the process of being done right now. And that will allow us to basically fully utilize the airport for development purposes. The County Drain Commissioner has given us a blanket approval for any new construction on the airport because we did this particular project. And then I mentioned before the repaving of the taxi lanes on the east side of the airport. The next slide shows a quick look of the where the solar panels are going to be, and they're going to be on carports. So we're not going to be losing any parking spaces, which in the next 10 years, I expect that parking at the airport is going to become a prime commodity. So we need to make sure we preserve the parking spaces that we have. The next slide talks the planned development for the airport right now, which is the east side and west side developments. And this will allow us to fully develop the east side of the airport, which will be somewhere between 6 to 10 new hangars. And like I mentioned, the County Drain Commissioner has already given us a blanket approval for that. We're in the process of applying to the FAA for airspace approval, and then we'll be able to start marketing those lots for leases for new hangar development. And then on the west side is also where we're planning to either have advanced air mobility or more additional hangars. Right now, we don't have any other space other than the west side of the airport to construct a corporate hangar. So if a new business that wants to get into aviation, if they wanted to build a hangar on the airport, it'll have to be on the west side of the airport. So that's where we'll probably be continuing to develop with additional utilities. The next slide shows some of the water main and storm drain improvements. This is, we're building 4 detention ponds on the airport so that no additional water from the airport will be going into the county drains, which my understanding is that they're at 100% capacity. So that's why the County Drain Commissioner was very encouraged the airport into doing something to stop putting water into the county drains. The next slide talks about the project. So the advanced air mobility, like I mentioned before, and I'm not sure if you guys had an opportunity to watch the video that I included in the presentation. We can certainly watch that again today if we want to, but every industry that deals with aviation in the United States and throughout the planet is very obviously, we're trying to figure out how do we get people that want to get to the big airports. And right now, the only way to get to the Troy Metro is to take a car to the Troy Metro or to take an Uber if you can get an Uber. There's no railroad, airplanes, or taxis that go to the Troy Metro. And so we're looking at a huge inconvenience for individuals that want to fly for the Jackson community. So the state of Michigan, along with the FAA, the federal government, has determined that we need to figure out how to advance the advanced air mobility program. Michigan has $90 million that they have put aside for projects that deal with advanced air mobility. And the next window for this will be in the spring, where we're planning on applying to see if we can advance our projects here at the airport. The next slide talks at the federal level, which is called the SMART Grant Program. And this is once again, the federal government's trying to advance the advanced air mobility process. Right now, we're behind some of the other countries. China has taken the lead. They're already carrying passengers in their drone type of aircraft. And we want to make sure that we take that lead again. This next slide will show.
Juan, Commissioner Bear has a question.
Yes, sir.
You're talking about the advanced aerial mobility. Is that the program where the function where people can fly from Jackson to Metro or to Chicago, and the pilot is sitting in an office somewhere with a computer and a joystick? And so is that what this program ends up with?
Okay, so the advanced air mobility is a whole new type of aircraft They're known as eVTOLs, which is the electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. And right now, it's not going to be only electric. They're also looking into hydrogen powered. The idea is that the aircraft for the first probably 10 to 15 years, they will be flown by a pilot inside the aircraft because it will take time for passengers to be able to fly in an aircraft confidently enough so that without a pilot. So the ultimate goal is to have a passenger get in the aircraft, and the aircraft will fly autonomously to its destination. There will be pilots in a control room that will be monitoring the events, but most of the actual flying and the routes that the aircraft will take, that will all be done by computers. The humans will only be there as a backup in the event of an emergency.
So that will be operational, you said, in maybe 10 years?
Yes, well, we're thinking that the testing will start in 2025 in the United States, and it will probably be operational in the next 7 to 10 years. The goal that the FAA has is by 2030 to have operational aircraft in the United States.
Thank you. That's fascinating to me.
So the next slide will show a radar system that we have right here in Jackson right now that we've been testing. And this radar system is known as a Harrier, is the name of the radar system. And we're testing it for the Michigan Air National Guard. And being the military has a little bit more freedom in flying drones than the civilian population do. So this radar will be used in Grayling, going to Alpena, so that the military can fly their big drones. So we're talking the drones that you see in the news flying overseas in our war scenarios, Afghanistan, Iraq, and those are being flown by the Air National Guard here in Michigan. So the ultimate goal with this particular radar system is to get one of the grants that I will be applying for is to have the state of Michigan pay for us to have this radar system. It's about a $500,000 radar system that will allow us to improve our traffic control of aircraft here in Jackson, and it will also allow us to start testing even more of the drone type of aircraft. So that's basically, and for those of you that have been around for a while, before I came into Jackson as the manager, we used to talk about the runway project. And the runway project was something that took about $45 million and almost 20 years to complete. And that provided the airport with practically new runways and taxiway infrastructure. And now we're going to be talking about advanced air mobility. So that's something that I want to get you guys used to is advanced air mobility. And the next slide, and I'm not sure if our system will allow us. Corey.
Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on this, I think this picture here, I think answers my question. So on this, the plane that you're referring to, is this the one you're referring to in terms of its size?
There's over close to 200 companies that are developing different types of advanced air mobility aircraft.
Advanced air, that's what it's called.
This
Thank
one
you.
is Beta from New Hampshire.
Okay.
And the only reason I brought this up is because the state of Michigan gave a contract to Beta to provide services in Traverse City, in Detroit Metro, and in Grand Rapids. And so that's one of the things that I'll be talking to MDOT tomorrow, is that we want to see if we can get in on this. This particular aircraft is aircraft that can carry 500 kilograms, so just over 1,200 pounds. They're focusing on cargo right now, which is basically the first phase with the advanced air mobility will be the carrying of cargo back and forth. If you're an Amazon user, you'll notice that there is no fulfillment centers close to Jackson. The closest fulfillment center is in Livonia. And so if we can get the Amazon to install a smaller fulfillment center here in Jackson, and if we can convince them that with the Beta aircraft, which Amazon is also very interested in this type of technology because most customers do not want to wait for next day deliveries. They want their products delivered on the same day. So an aircraft like this could go to the fulfillment center, fill it up with 500 kilograms of cargo, and bring it to Jackson. Then in Jackson, we'll have the transportation of the products, either by smaller drones or by vehicles.
So how many people can you fit in such a
Okay, so
aircraft?
this will be 6 passengers and the pilot.
6 passengers, okay.
Are
Okay,
you- Are
thank
you
you.
able to do the video? No? Okay. I would recommend if you go on Board Docs, you can actually turn on the video. It's a pretty cool video. If you can overlook Bernie Sanders towards the end, Senator Sanders, excuse me. But any questions on that?
Committee members, any questions? Commissioner Williams.
No questions, but I just want to say I appreciate the ingenuity going into this. I know this was I had some time ago just about the future and what that could potentially look like for Jackson County. And so just to kind of see some of these things that we've discussed becoming more of a real conversation, I really appreciate your work in that.
My pleasure. And if anybody's interested, if any of the commissioners would like to get a closer, in-depth look, you're all welcome to just give me a call and we'll give you a tour of the airport. We can talk about all these different types of aviation that's coming in. Thank you.
Commissioner Duckham. You offering a motion?
No.
No.
Question. The payload of the remote-controlled craft, whether it carries people or cargo, you said it's 100 kilograms or 100,000 kilograms?
Okay, so basically, right now, the FAA allows drones that are under 55 pounds. So you're looking at the smaller drones. Those are the only drones that are allowed to operate, and they can fly up to 500 feet or lower to the ground. So we're looking into the drones that can carry anywhere from, this particular photo here, this is a drone that can carry 1,200 pounds.
1,200 pounds, okay.
1,200 pounds of cargo or up to 6 passengers.
Thank you.
Obviously, that will be dependent on the weight, but if you look a little bit more into it, the final product will probably be something that will be a drone that can carry probably 10 to 15 passengers, probably about the size of a smaller corporate jet that will be either electric powered or hydrogen powered.
Thank you.
Be looking for a motion to receive the report. Moved by Williams, supported by Bear. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passed unanimously. Thank you, Juan. Have a great day. Takes us to item J, Public Defender. Mr. Fortino's here. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, that's the graph I wanted to see. I've been talking during my reports for quite some time about the operating system or the case management system that our office has. It's called Defender Data. It's a wonky system. It's difficult to learn, and it's difficult to move information around. So we've been looking for other technology. And Harold Downer from my office and Kevin Rogers, chief assistant, and my administrative assistant, they have been looking around, and we went to IT department. We've spoken to Ben Muscat, and he's really helped, and his office has helped tremendously in helping us to find a system that'll work well for our office. I've included in the materials the Public Defender Case Management Software comparisons on the screen now. And it gives a comparison between the 3 different companies that we had. Actually, we talked to more than 3, but these are the 3 that we went in depth with. And I agree with Mr. Muscat's recommendation. I think that Filevine is the system to go with. It's got a lower intro cost. It's going to cost $189,945 over a period of 3 years. It's comparable with the others. It's less than legal service. It's a little bit more than ZLS, and I think the capabilities, as they have been explained to me, the capabilities outshine the others. I'm not a technology expert, obviously. Mr. Muscat is here to help answer any questions regarding the technology involved, but the main features here are the user friendliness of the system that we've chosen, and the unlimited capacity, storage capacity. Right now, we're running out of storage capacity with Defender Data. We don't have enough. As I mentioned, we have to save everything, any piece of paper, any document, and any memorandum, briefs, motions, videos, and there's a lot of video data in our system, such as dash cameras, body cameras, things like that. It's all got to be stored and it's got to be maintained. And as I said, we're running out of space on Defender Data, so that's what prompted this. We're starting to look around. What we're asking for is the board's approval to go ahead with this. The money has been allocated. MIDC is going to pay for this. The initial startup cost has already been arranged. We did some line item adjustments within our own budget. So it's going to be zero cost, basically, other than the county contribution. It's going to be zero cost to the county. MIDC is going to pick up this expense. And there's another comparison. If we can go to the FileVine. This slide. While we're waiting for that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead,
I have
Commissioner Williams.
participated- I'm sorry.
Commissioner Williams has a question.
Sorry.
While we're waiting for the presentation, now you mentioned the funding that MIDC was paying for this?
Yes.
Okay, so is this a reimbursement or is this a grant that we file with them and then they take care of
But
it?
it's all grant.
Okay,
As I said before, aside from the county contribution, all this money is grant money from the state.
okay. And then the county contribution, is that coming from your budget?
That it accounts a portion of our budget, yes.
I can help answer that. So the Public Defender Grant, the MIDC grant, is one of the very few grants that are pre-funded. So we get approximately 3 to 4 payments per year. They're approximately quarterly. Sometimes they're 3 times a year. It just depends. And so it's a pre-funded grant as opposed to a reimbursement. So we already have some payments for this. Our local share is about $550,000 annually, and that comes out of the general fund, and that doesn't, it changes slightly with inflation, but then it drops back down to the original number, so it's not a cumulative effect of that, inflation. So it ranges in the 550 range. And that does come out of the general fund, but it's required mandatory by statute.
Commissioner Pileski, did you still have some questions?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the courtesy, Mr. Chair, for a non-committee member. And my question may be pedestrian, but I just want to ask it. We heard this morning from the prosecutor who is also putting in
Yes.
a system of some sort, which I'm guessing must be similar to what this is. And if you or our IT director can describe to us less technical people why it is we need 2 systems to do similar stuff, and the funding may be an issue, but I guess I'd be curious to know that.
Well, as you said, as you recognize, there are different funding systems, and also the system that the prosecutor was talking about earlier this morning is specifically for prosecuting attorneys' offices. They track different types of data than we do. They make reports to different people. Now, the system that we're looking for, and Ben can jump in any time and help me out here, but basically, that's designed specifically for prosecuting attorneys' offices.
No problem. So we did take a look at that one as well. The same company that makes the prosecutor's software that we're going with also makes a Defender product as well. It is a separate product. So there's not really an efficiency to be gained, because that's one of the first things we looked at was, can we just use a single system? And so there was not really a tight efficiency to be gained on that. And also in looking at Harold and the other members of the committee that were evaluating the softwares, they preferred some of the interface look and feel from a usability standpoint of where we went with FileVine. So yes, it was evaluated as part of it. And so we did not get far enough to get to a final quoting process with it before we decided to go a different direction.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for that courtesy.
Yep. Commissioner Duckham, then we'll move to Commissioner Bear. Gentlemen, we're down to our last 20 minutes. I'll keep you in mind.
Quickly, you have a system that will make your office more efficient.
Yes, this system will make our office more efficient. It'll be able to, it makes tracking data easier. You can go from one section to another with great ease. You can, and it tracks communications as well. So if an email goes out, we can have that in the system. It's a good case.
I'd just like to point out that every time you come up with an innovation, yours is state funded. Nothing against you, but now the prosecutor has to have, it's a game of cat and mouse. And every time something goes up on your end, we have to pay for it on the prosecutor's end. And this is where I seen it going when we had the mandated public defender office, and it's doing it, and it's eating up the budget.
Well, I think I had no part in the prosecutor updating their system. So
I know that.
We've been working on this project for quite some time, and I've mentioned it in the past. I don't know whether the prosecutor, I don't know if this is on a grant of any kind or anything. I don't know how his operates.
I don't know either.
So this is just, I don't really, doesn't matter to me what kind of system they use.
I understand.
This is to increase our efficiency.
But what I want to point out is when you get a new efficiency, we got to buy him a new efficiency.
Well, it's the other way around this time.
It never ends. Thank you, that's all.
Just a quick note on that one. That one is being funded out of a 3-year grant program for their system, and the total cost of the system is actually lower than the software that the prosecutor's office had been using prior. So that one we did actually save some money on long-term.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bear.
Thank you. In the cover letter, Roman numeral 2, analysis B, financial.
Yes.
The county is responsible for the local share. Anything in excess of the county share is funded through the grant. And did I hear Deborah right, that this will require $550,000 coming out of our general fund?
No.
Since the inception of the Public Defender's Office, because of the Headley Amendment, the state is required to compensate us for any costs regarding the Public Defender's Office. However, there's a local share that's built in. So every year, we have to contribute a statutory minimum state or minimum local share that is required in the statute. So every year, we have to contribute, give or take, about $550,000, irregardless of anything else. So we have to put in our $550,000 no matter what. Everything over and above that $550,000 is covered by the state through the MIDC grant that the Public Defender's Office brings every year for approval. And right now it's at about what, 4 million, Brian?
A little over 4.
A little bit over 4. So the state contributes approximately 4 million. We contribute 550. Our contribution is mandatory, required by statute, no matter what.
Okay, so state law mandates that out of our general fund, over $500,000 comes out for the Public Defender's Office.
Correct.
I do not like these unfunded state mandates. They're terrible.
Okay. I think we've got enough background information on that. If all commissioners are comfortable, I'd be looking for a motion for this to the full board with recommendation of approval. Moved by Williams, supported by Walls. Is there any discussion? If not, I'd be looking for, if you could post the vote.
The vote's been posted.
The wrong side keeps winning. It's the wrong side until you get arrested. Yeah.
We're not in France, where you're guilty until proven innocent. You're innocent until proven guilty.
Phil, can you vote, please, Commissioner Duckham?
I'm on the wrong page or something.
Commissioner
Passes
Duckins, yes.
unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fortino. Have a great day. Now we've got to Jackson County Department of Transportation. Angela is here. They have a lot of topics. We have roughly 20 minutes left, gentlemen, so, and lady, excuse me.
All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the financial statements through June 30th of 2024. So as you can see on the second page, there is an increase to fund balance at the end of June of $709,000, which brings our fund balance up to $6.7 million, which is very positive. There aren't any concerns that we have at the end of June, but are there any questions?
Committee members, are there any questions? Commissioner Bear?
Thank you. In the financial breakdown towards the bottom, excess revenue expenditures.
That just means revenues are higher than expenditures.
What are these excess revenues? And are they available for the board to put in our upcoming budget?
This excess revenues is going to be used to finish out the rest of our year. So it's just revenues are higher through June compared to our expenditures, which is a very good thing going into construction season. So we need those in order to finish out our year. They're MTF funds. They cannot go into general fund, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, when I hear excess revenue, to me, that sounds like you had more money than you needed and you got $1 million left over.
Well, we still had 6 months left to finish the year too. So by the end of the year, we'll probably be budget neutral.
Thank you.
Or a small increase, so. Okay, any other questions?
No other questions. I'll be looking for a motion to receive the report.
So moved.
Moved by Duckham.
Support.
Supported by Williams. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. So we do have a proposed budget amendment that we're asking the board to approve. So just the highlights, we do have a 1.9 million decrease to our previously approved 2024 budget, but let's just kind of go over the highlights real quick to explain that. Within our federal and state grant amendments, there were projects that were completed in 2023, and then there's other projects that are going to be moved, not starting to 2025, so we needed to adjust those grants down $4.5 million. We did have MTF revenues have been adjusted to the latest state of Michigan projections for 24, which was an increase of $594,000. There's township contributions increased by 1.7 million, but 1.4 million of that is a special assessment district at Lake Columbia, and an additional 300,000 in unanticipated township contribution projects. We also had increase in revenue for MTF truck line maintenance of $750,000. And then we also had MDOT state non-maintenance revenues increase of $1 million. So those are the biggest highlights on our changes in our revenues. Are there any questions on the revenue changes
Any
to our
questions?
budget?
Committee members? Doesn't look like it.
Okay, so moving on. So regarding the expenditures, so with the revenues coming down for grant related, that would also decrease our expenditures for those related expenditures. So between primary heavy maintenance and heavy maintenance, there is a 3.2 million reduction in expenditures because of projects finishing in 23 or moving into 25. Then there's also primary routine maintenance. There was an increase of $464,000 of expenditures. And that's pretty much used for routine maintenance activities such as contract pothole, patching, tree removal, deberming, and trucking costs, et cetera. We did have an increase in the local heavy maintenance of almost $4 million, and that's due to cost share with the townships on road projects. Like Blackman Road Millage project costs and the balance of the A Shire and Blackman Township. We also had an increase of local routine maintenance of 686,000. And again, that was for pothole patching, tree removal on the local side. And then we also have MDOT state non-maintenance expenditure increased by 944,000. And we did have a decrease in the non-road technical service group of 2.2 million, and that's pretty much due to reduced staffing, higher efficiency, and the redistribution of expenses to appropriate budget lines. Are there any questions on the expenditure?
Committee members, any questions? Commissioner Bear.
Thank you. I still see in your write-up, under Article 3 Analysis, B, Financial, the year-end fund balance is projected to be $5,171,000. So again, this $5 million fund balance at the end of the year, how is that something the Board of Commissioners can control and put that $5 million where we want it?
No, it's all MTF. It's all JDOT funds by MTF funded. So no, it's regulated by the state. That's
Okay, well, if JDOT's controlling it all, or if MDOT's controlling it all, then I don't know why we're even approving it.
Any other questions?
You're looking for a motion to forward to the full board with recommendation of approval.
So moved.
Moved by Duckham, supported by Williams. If you could post the vote, I would appreciate it. Is there any discussion before we do that? Seeing none, please post the vote.
The vote's been posted.
Thank you.
Passes unanimous.
Thank you. Takes us to item M, various road tree removal MDOT contract. Hello, Angela.
Hello. All right, so this item is an MDOT contract. It is a safety project. The totals are there in the background with a $97,260 match that's required. The roads that will be doing the tree removal and signing and payment markings on are West Michigan Ave, Seymour Road, Fay Lake Road, Katy Road, Bailing Road, and Wolf Lake Road.
Committee members, are there any questions? Commissioner Bear.
Reviewing the documents on board docs for this and the next two agenda items, which are all contracts, I cannot determine what the scope of work is. There's no description of the work that I could find. There's the drawings just show a broad line that say work is supposed to occur within this area on this road. Nothing indicates how many trees are going to be cut down, how far back we're cutting the trees. Nothing tells me how many lineal feet of guardrail are being put up, how much, I cannot, there's no document that explains the scope of the work. So what is it that you're asking us to approve a scope of work that I don't even know what it is?
I think that the point of the contract, the board is to approve the expenditure of the matching funds from our budget. The items of work is determined by the engineering department, is my understanding.
Who's performing this work?
A contractor. It'll go out to bid and a contractor will be awarded through the MDOT process.
So where is this contractor getting his direction in?
We have plans for it, yes, but the contract gives what the type of work is. It doesn't give you the details of all that. That's the bid documents that go to the contractor.
Well,
But
I'd
this
like to see
item is for
those
you guys to
documents
approve that.
before I vote to approve these.
Okay, if the administration would like me to do that.
This is a committee of 5, so we can absolutely have that discussion. Is there anything more to add? If not, I'm going to get a motion on the floor. Okay, I'd be looking for a motion to forward this to the full board with recommendation of approval.
So moved.
Moved by Duckham, supported by Williams. Is there any discussion?
I'll be voting no.
Okay. Duly noted. Please post the vote.
The vote's been posted. Pass 4-1.
Thank you. Takes us to item N, McCain Road and Michigan Avenue contract.
So this is the same exact type of project. It's a safety grant that we received the funding for, and the match that's in the JC budget is $41,570.
Committee members, are there any questions?
Mr. Chair, if there's no motion, if there's no further question, I'll call the motion.
Okay. Moved by Williams. Do we have support? Supported by Duckham. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please post the vote.
It's been posted. You're the only one I don't have. Yes or no? Pass 4-1.
Okay. Thank you. We are now to item O, various road horizontal curve sign contract.
All right, so this is another safety grant project. This one has pavement marking, mumble strips, and horizontal curves on it, and the roads are listed in the board write-up.
Commissioner Bear.
For these three contracts, the total coming out of our general fund for it is
Not general
220.
fund. Comes out of our
JC
JC fund.
These are all JC expenditures, not
not-
general fund.
No, no. I'll get you the right words here. The required local match is $97,260. The required local match is $41,570. Open up page. The local match is $84,211. So this local match that is required, is that not coming out of the general fund?
No.
Where is it? How's,
JC has its own budget. It's nothing out of general fund. It's all MTF funds. So what the documents that we were looking at before, it's the first page, that top where you see heavy maintenance or heavy maintenance structures, heavy maintenance safety specifically for these three items. That's the line item it comes out of.
so you're saying that these monies come out of your JC budget?
Correct.
And within your JC budget, is it not general fund money that's put into your JC budget?
No, we do not
Well,
get
certainly
any.
when each of these things require additional support from you and your department for engineering, for inspection, for construction administration.
Commissioner
Those-
Bear, I'm going to
those
let the
funds-
administrator take this for you because you're fundamentally not grasping. JC is not part of the general fund, but I'm going to let the administrator explain it.
JC is funded through primarily gas tax dollars, right? So they receive gas tax dollars, I'll say it this way, make it simple here. Gas tax dollars, that becomes their money. These extra monies that the state provides us, be it a grant to do some project, that's the money that we're talking about here. We use our regular gas tax dollars to be our share, because we get that money regardless. So it's, never do we use general fund, general tax dollars for JC unless this board specifically authorizes it, and I can't recall when we did that ever.
County Farm Road is the only one I know of.
Yeah, that's right. We had a special meeting for that, yeah, so.
Committee members, I'd be looking for a motion to forward to the full board. Moved by Williams, supported by Duckham. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please post the vote.
The vote's been posted.
Commissioner Duckham's a yes.
Pass 4-1.
Thank you. Takes us to item P, license agreement, private utility at 1224 Idle Hills Drive.
So this is a new type of item. I think you'll be seeing more of it. In the past, we'll get into a road project and we'll find a private utility that's under the road that we have no clue whose it is. It's because in the past, we approved right-of-way permits to put pipes under to help people. So when we do a new project, then we incur all the costs for either fixing them, or if there's a sinkhole, we have to fix that private utility. So this document is a way of keeping track of where we've worked with people in the past so that it's tied to their property. And if they sell it, or if I'm gone, or if my staff's gone, we can go back on whoever owns that property for the costs incurred to maintain that private utility in the right of way. That's the background of it. This one specifically, they've had the health department involved, and it's highly recommended by them to pipe over to the other side where they own property for their sewer.
My own question would be, is the resident aware and have they put up any type of?
Nope, they've already signed the document. They are very eager to get it done. Yeah.
Commissioner Duckham, did you?
I'd like to talk to you after the meeting's over about this.
Okay.
Thank you. Make a motion, we approve?
Moved by Duckham, supported by Williams. We are absent a committee member. Okay, go ahead and post the vote, please.
The vote's been posted.
Commissioner Bear is marked as what?
Not present at vote.
Takes us to item Q.
I'm not done yet.
Oh, sorry, excuse
Still
me.
waiting on Commissioner Duckham.
Oh, Commissioner Duckham.
Thank you.
He's a yes.
Pass 4.
Are you signed in?
Comes up late for some reason. This side of the table is too far away from here.
Okay. Now we're to item Q, the mineral aggregate.
So this is our standard bid that we put out for the aggregates that we have to purchase throughout the season to do different maintenance activities. And we're asking to award to all the bidders, and we'll use them based on the project we're using it for. It was about a 6% increase in material costs. I know.
That's about right? That's what information, yeah. Okay. Committee members, any questions? If not, be looking for a motion to forward to the full board with recommendation of approval.
So moved.
Moved by Duckham, supported by Walls. Any discussion? Seeing none, if you could please post the vote.
The vote's been posted. Got it, Duckham. Passes unanimous.
Thank you. Takes us to item R, calcium chloride.
So this is another stand-up item that we bring to you. It's the liquid calcium chloride and then also the mineral brine that we would like to trial on some of the county roads to see how it performs. The costs did go up about 0.025 cents per gallon from last year for the calcium chloride and 0.03 for the brine. But it's a necessity for our winter operations.
Is there any questions, committee members? Seeing none, I'd be looking for a motion to forward to the full board with recommendation of
So
approval.
moved.
Moved by Duckham.
Support.
Supported by Bear. Any discussion? Seeing none, please post the vote.
It's been posted. Good.
We are at the time, so we have the monthly report. I would break it down to, all the commissioners have had a chance to read it. So if they have any questions, now would be the time. Does anyone have any questions about the report?
If there's no question, Mr. Chair, I'll offer motion to receive report as presented, or as submitted, excuse me.
Okay, moved by Williams and supported by Duckham. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Angela. Have a great day. Takes us to item 5A. I'd be looking for a motion to pay the claims. Moved by Bear, supported by Williams. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. Takes us to item B, other minutes, of which I see none. Takes us to item C, reporting schedule for the month of October will be Jackson County Department of Transportation monthly, District Court semi-annual, Circuit Court semi-annual, Drain Commissioner, full board only. Takes us to item 6A, the second opportunity for public comment. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Last chance for public comment. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Takes us to item 7A, committee member comments. Are there any committee member comments? Commissioner Bear.
The two gentlemen that spoke during the first public comment period, I'm hoping that JC can give them some help. According to the surveyor on the project, that whole roundabout was constructed 6 feet north of where it was supposed to have been built. The landowner was complaining to the project engineer that you've built this project north and you're encroaching on my property by about 3 feet. So the project engineer said, well, I'll have a surveyor look at it. Surveyor surveyed it and came back and said, well, we're actually 6 feet onto your property where we're not supposed to be. So the survey confirmed that it was not built in the right place. The gentleman's easement was reduced by the construction. They're not aware that any easement modification had been requested or granted. It was just built over their easement. And now their easement is reduced greatly, which is going to impact their access to their property. So I'm hoping we can give them some assistance. The project certainly doesn't appear done. When you get to the silt fence at the end of the hill, there's still voids excavated away on the opposite side of that silt fence, and the water will highly likely flood this man's agricultural field. And it wouldn't take much soil to not touch anything that's complete on the project, but to construct a little bit of a berm beyond their silt fence that will guarantee the water goes into the ditch drain, as it always has been, move forward, move northward a couple 100 feet to the under road culvert, 30-inch culvert, go from east to west under the culvert, and then connect into Sandstone Creek as it always has been. So hope you'll take their comments seriously and give them some relief.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments?
I beg the indulgence of the chair, if I may.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Shotwell.
After verbal conversation with JC Dot, this is an MDOT project on Deering Road, and we plan to reach out to Kelby Wallace, who is the director of MDOT for our university district, and make him aware of the difficulties of this area and intersection, and hopefully coordinate some type of effort during the cleanup of the Deering Road I-94 interchange work. A lot of times things are done after settling cycle, and we'll see him at Jack's and be able to make him aware of what the issues are. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Also, one thing, I don't know if you got a text or an email, Commissioner Bear, but you had an earlier question about the 911 report. That actually was last month, so you should be able to go back into board docs and check out the report. I'm not sure why it was put on the monthly for this month, but apparently he reported last month. That's the response I got.
Thank you.
Yep. There's no other committee member comments. Meeting is adjourned.